Hey, this is Andrew Brown from the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, and we're continuing on with CloudFormation. I don't remember what we last did. I do know that we were working, probably trying to deploy a service like the Fargate service here. So let's go take a look here and kind of remind ourselves what's going on here. I was sick, and then we had Git pod issues. So many reasons why there are delays, but that's okay. We can always pick this up and figure out what we were doing last. So we had a rollback here for the backend service, and we'll scroll on down and see what the problem was. So it says resource handler message failed, invalid request provided, create service. The target group does not exist. So that's what it's saying, that there's no target group. And so that's the issue here, but is there an error down further? No, so really it's just that it says there's no target group. So let's go take a look at our code and try to figure out what has gone wrong. And this happens to me all the time. It opened up the wrong branch. So I'll go here. I cannot tell you how many times that has happened. I'll just stop that. And I will go. I was on week 10. Again, it was just that I was in the wrong. They just changed it so there's organization. So it made a new one for me. And I was on the wrong one. It told me I was out of credits, which I'm not. And so we will open this up again. Okay. And I'll see you back here when the environment is ready. Okay. All right, so our environment is kind of back up here. I'm going to go into the AWS directory, and CloudFormation, and we were working on this service template here, so I will open it up. Doesn't have our YAML highlighting yet, but that's okay. And so we do have target groups, because I remember setting them up at the cluster level, but in here, we are supposed to specify the load balancer. So under our Fargate service, it should say here, load balancers. Oh, right, I put it to do here, and that's why it didn't work. I put it to do because we were supposed to specify the target group, and what we had to do is go back to the other one. I think it was just because like the lamps in here were really hot, and I was hungry and tired, and that's why we left it here. But this is what we need to do. I'm glad that I put that to do there, and we'll go back to our cluster, because that's where we set up the target groups. We'll scroll all the way down, and yes, I know it's frustrating with not having any highlighting here, but we will have our target group ARN. So it'll be front end target group ARN. And we need our back end target group ARN. Okay. And we'll go look up target groups. So we'll say target group CFN. And so in here, what we're looking for is the return values. So I want to know, does this return an ARN? It does, so we can use the ref. So that's all I wanted to know. So we'll go over here. And I believe these are called like front-end TG. If we aren't 100% sure, we'll give this a search here. Yeah, front-end TG, back-end TG. I remember writing it that way, so TG. And then this one will be backend TG. And then we have our export here. And so this is front end target group ARN. That's kind of getting long. So I think what I'm going to do is just name it like this. Oh, let me paste. Okay. ARN. Backend TG ARN. Okay. And so now those are set. We need to make sure those appear in our outputs. So we will go back a directory here, and we'll do bin CFN. And this one is service cluster deploy, because that's where these are at. And so that will or should update those outputs. So we'll give it a moment there. It's going to create a new change set. We'll go back over here. We'll refresh. Give this a refresh here. Oh, sorry, we'll go back here. It's really this stack here. We have a change set, and we can take a look at this. There will be no changes. There are changes, of course. They are changing the outputs, but there's no changes to the infrastructure. And this might be instantaneous. I don't know. It is great. We'll look at the outputs. We will double check them. So this one's CRUDder front-end TG ARN. So we have the front end. Where's our back end? I see only a front end. Oh, it's up here. Okay, great. So now that we have those, what we can do is close out these tabs. And in here, we can reference them. So we have that import value. That's how we do cross stack. And so this is for, we're deploying the backend right now. So we'll do backend tg arn. And the question is like, should these be separate CloudFormation templates because they're different, or should they be the same because they mostly do the same thing? Because right now we are hard coding backend, and if we want to do the front end, of course, we would have to pass something else here. It's either that or we don't do a cross-reference stack here, and we could always pass in the yarn directly, but I don't think I'd like to do that. So we have backend TG. This also be a great opportunity to maybe use mappings where we could alternate between two values. I'm not sure how you do that with import values. I don't usually use mappings very often, like conditionals or mappings with CloudFormation, but it could be a great opportunity to do that. So I'm going to go here and just take out that comment. And so I believe that is correct, except that it's supposed to say ARN on the end there. Okay. And what we'll do is go back over here to our CloudFormation stack. And we'll go ahead and delete this. We'll delete the stack. And we'll wait for that to delete. That was very quick. And now we'll go back here. We'll hit up. And we'll do service deploy. And so, we might have a different problem on our hands, but hopefully this problem is gone, which is what I'm hoping for. So we'll go there. We'll go back over here. We'll refresh. And we'll go into this. And we'll go to change sets. Execute change set. And we'll run that there. So we will give that a moment to run, and we'll see if there's any problems, okay? All right, so we have a rollback here. Let's go take a look at what the issue is. So we'll go into here, and it says invalid request provided, create service. The provided target group has a target type instance, which is incompatible with AWS VPC network mode specified by the IP. It's supposed to be for IP and not instance, so I don't remember setting it, but maybe I just set it incorrectly. So we'll go back over to our template here. This stack is not going to go anywhere, so we will go here and tear it down. So we'll hit delete on that one. We'll go back over to our cluster, and we will go take a look for the target group. So in here, we have our backend target group. Does it say what type it is? We didn't set it, so maybe it defaulted to instance type. So what we'll do, I'm going to hold, control here and click through. And we're going to figure out that value that's missing. Maybe it's target type. Here it is, target type. And wow, we didn't even have it in there. So it must have defaulted to instance. It has to be IP addresses for Fargate. So we'll go here and we'll just say IP. I believe that's what it wants. It looks correct to me. We'll go ahead and copy this, and we'll go down below, and we'll put the target type in there as well. And then we will go back. I'll just close some of these messages out, and we'll just hit up till we can deploy that cluster again. That will create our nice change set. Let's just make sure that this passes validation. Good. We'll go back over here. And we'll refresh. Change sets. Execute change set. We'll execute it. Okay, and so that is now executing. So we'll wait here, and hopefully this time... Oh, already has a problem. Okay. So it says AWS load balancing target group identifier CRUDR, CRD CRUDR front and TG already exists. The backend already exists. Well, we know they already exist. We want to replace them, right? So what's going on here? Let's go back over here. And now let's just run that again and see what it says, because it looks like it didn't do a replacement. Now, this is where it's important to test updates on stuff, because some things don't work how you'd think they would. So here it says modify backend, front end. So it says that it's going to replace them. Okay. Target group already exists. Replacement, CFN. Seems that CloudFormation associates the logical ID with the resources. For example, using IAM as an example, here the resources get created with a custom name. Remains unchanged. CloudFormation will recognize that the resource has already been created and will update it as necessary. However, if you change the logical ID, it thinks it needs to create a new resource because of this. So it might be the case where it is going to replace them, but it's just happening so quickly that the old ones still exist, the old names. And this has happened to me before. And so this is where there are cases where you don't want to provide your own name. I wonder if there's any other pseudo parameters that we can do to make this a bit more random. So pseudo parameters. No, not really. So, I was just looking for some other kind of thing that would help. But what we'll have to do here, and, I don't like it, but we'll have to do this and comment that out. One thing we can do, though, if we can't use the name that we want, we can definitely place some tags on here. So let's go back over to here and see if we can apply some tags. Yeah, so we have tags. I'm just making sure that it is how I think it's supposed to be. So here we have a tag, key and value. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go down here. We'll say tags, hyphen key, value, target group name. This one will be front end. Is this the front end? This is the back end one. Sorry, back end. And then we'll go down to this one here to the other one, and we'll say front end. And so at least that way we can still kind of identify what they are, because this is going to put out some kind of name that is not going to be easily readable. So the tags are what we're going to rely on for that. There's just really no easy way around that. So yeah, sometimes you just don't want to, do it that way. So we'll go here. And so what it should do is create out randomized names. It's still trying to do something here. So we'll go back over to our cluster, CRUD cluster. Update rollback complete. So that's fine. We'll try this again. And it's creating that change set. It created that change set. We'll go back over here. And hopefully we don't end up with like 4, but we'll find out in a second. And so hopefully this time, okay, I'll give it a refresh here. So this is updated. That looks good. And so let's go actually take a look at what's happened to the names, just so you can observe what's going on there. So we'll go to EC2, because that's where load balancers are. On the left-hand side, we'll go down to target groups. And we'll look at the names. And actually, that's kind of okay. So it's using the logical name, and then it has a randomized thing. So I was concerned that we would not be able to read that at all. But if we drop this down, it's a good thing that we made, well, here you can see that they kind of truncated even the stack name, so that's smart. But if we scroll on down here, you can see that we see, backend target group name. So we do have some information. Yeah, so the reason I try to keep the logical names and stuff short is because I don't know if all services will do this truncation thing. And so sometimes it might say the logical ID is too long, or the name generated based off the logical ID or something that you put in is too long. So, or when we were doing the substitution, you can forcefully make it too long and then it complains. But every service is a bit different. At least AWS is a lot more consistent. Azure is a nightmare for naming consistency in terms of what you have to do. But anyway, so we have our new load balancer set up. What we can do is now go back over to our service and try to deploy it again. And maybe this time around it will work. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll give it a moment to create the change set. And we'll go review in progress, change the set. I always click into it. We'll take a look here. It's adding those things. That looks good to me. We'll execute the change set. And we will wait for this to create. I'll be back here when we know the status of it, okay? All right, let's take a look at the error that we have now. So it says the service registry could not be validated, or Route 53 service not found, ECS. So that's interesting. I don't know what it means by that error. The resource handler message, the service register could not be validated. So I wonder if it's talking about the service registry that we create. I'm going to go check CloudTrail to see if we get more information. You know, at some point we will use CloudTrail to see something more detailed, but not always the case. So we'll go here and we will go into our event history and try and figure out which one would have caused it. So create tags, authorize change set. So let's look at the register task definition. I don't think it's this one. So this one looks fine to me. Let's go back a step here. Because it should show up here, authorized security group. It can't be that one. Is this up to date? Let me just refresh this. No, it's not. We weren't looking at the up to date one here. So I think it shows up like when it deregisters or deletes things. So let's go there. Let's check the deregistered one. Nope. Maybe it's back a step here. So authorized security group ingress. I don't think it's that, but let's just keep looking. Well, this registered this. Oh, you know what? It probably happened right here in the create service. That's where it happened. Okay, so we'll go here. The service registry could not be validated. Service not found. The service registry. And I think that has to do something with ECS Connect. Let's go here. It could be like the order of when things are being created. Now this is Terraform, but they might explain why. They don't. We'll go here. All right, so it's not 100% clear why, but I mean, we know probably it's around ECS Connect. And so the thing is that this service needs to be established with service registry or app, like the thing. So let's go take a look at our configuration files, and maybe what we can do is figure it out from there. So we know that this is our backend, and what I'm looking for here is like configurations for service connect, like this here. Okay, so the question is, where is that? Because we told, I think, ChatGPT to figure it out for us, and maybe it's just missing. This is the cluster. So I want to go to the actual service here, sorry. And in here, we have network configuration, that's fine, but we want this service connect configuration. So where's that? Service registries, okay. And if we look at this, we have a registry on here, SRV, creditor, backend, Flask. So the question is, does this already exist, or is that, because it has a registry ARN, so it has to exist before we do that, right? If we look here, it doesn't work exactly like that. So let's go take a look at the documentation for the service, and maybe ChatGPT lied to us, and there's another way, because maybe that's for if you already have an existing one, you're attaching one, maybe you can create one on the fly here. So we'll go down here, and look, there's this service connect configuration, but we're using service registries. If we go back here, do we use service configuration connect here at all? We don't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first take a look at this other one here, service registries. To associate with this, see service discovery. Each service may be associated with one service registry. I don't know, this might also be the older way to do it, like with app mesh, so I don't think that that is the way that we want to do it. Let's go take a look at this one here. Yeah, so let's go ahead and try to use this instead, because we're clearly using it here, so I kind of feel like this is the correct solution. So we'll go ahead and we'll grab this, and I don't think we need this. This I think is junk. So we'll comment that out for now. And I wonder if all this just maps to be basically the same thing. It basically does. We have enabled, so we'll put enabled here. True, probably. And then we have the namespace. Namespace is credder. And then probably services. Yep, we have services. And so here it probably is those three values. Let's click into that, find out what it is. Similar. So we have discovery name. I'm going to just assume they're all here. Port name, client aliases. So say backend Flask. This one will be backend Flask. Client aliases, probably port 4567 here. Let's just take a look here. But this one says port name, port override. So it's not exactly the same. Do we get an example? No, we don't get an example. That'd be nice if we did. Client aliases. Let's go back over here. Oh, I mean, we are under client. Wait, why did we put that in there? Oh, it is there. Okay, great. Sorry. So we'll go into client aliases. DSNA port. Okay, so here we have this, and it should be port 4567. So, it looks good to me. Now, I noticed that we didn't do logging in the other one. And that might be something that you might want to do. Logging is generally good to do. But for now, I'm going to leave it out. But maybe as a to-do, if you want to do it yourself. It really just comes down to spend, and that's what we're always concerned about here. I'm just going to put this here as a to-do. And it's more so like up to like if you want to do it or not, you know, so like to do if you want to log. Because really we should be logging all these things. I don't think they're like super expensive to do, but I'm just going to put that as a conditional thing. It's up for you to do. And what we'll do is go back over to our here, and we'll go ahead and delete this stack. And we'll go back and we'll go ahead and do a deploy. And it will create a change set. We will refresh here. I'll go into this. We'll go to change sets here, and we'll execute the change set, and we'll let that roll. And we'll see if we got all that syntax correctly, because we did swap one thing out with another. But just thinking about it, like the service registry stuff is definitely something I remember when doing app mesh, and so probably I just thought maybe sometimes like CloudFormation doesn't really match what the CLI does, so I thought maybe in that case it was slightly different, but I guess we just missed the other one. It created, did it finish? It's not done yet. I'll see you back here in a moment, okay? All right, so let's give this a refresh here, and well, no, it's still creating, I guess. So probably what's happening right now is it's doing the health checks. So what we could do is make our way over to ECS. And, you know, the question really is like, should we do it this way or should we use the create service? Because we are so used to doing it that way that, I mean, I do find it quite easy to work with the bash scripts. But, and at the end of the day, it does create a CloudFormation template, so it is being managed. So it's really up to us whether we want to create that file manually for CloudFormation or use that. Anyway, I'd love to hear the opinions of boot campers, what they think they prefer, which is the bash scripts for that. But that's where, you know, it's either or that you can do. We are seeing failures here, so that is curious. We'll go health checks here, 2 failed. Configuration tasks will go down here. We'll click into it. We will, well, what happened? Let's go back to backend Flask. Configuration tasks. This task. All tasks. We'll click into this one. Task failed the ELB health check. Okay. So it's saying the ELB failed. Fair enough. So I'm just trying to think, why would that be an issue? What does the log show? So in the logs here, we can see health checks are passing. I believe this is for local. Get API. Normally we can, like if we saw both, we would know why, but let's go take a look at our target group. It could be like something to do with our security groups here. So we go to health checks here, monitoring targets. It's not showing any targets. Let's go take a look at what the health check says. So the health check for the front end is that. We're working with the back end right now. API health check. So that looks correctly configured. So what I'm thinking is it's probably the security groups. That's what I think it is. So what we'll do is we'll go back over to our target group here in the backend. We'll go over to, I guess, ECS here. And I want to click into the service. I want to go to its configuration. Might be under networking, but take a look here. Networking maybe. Yeah, there we are. Here's its security group. So is the load balancer's security group allowed traffic in? And so we have this one here. It says HTTP TCP port 80 for the ALB. So it's definitely set to have this opened. So this shouldn't be a problem. Let's just bring this a bit larger here. It says the ALB HTTP. So this is the only thing I can think of where it would have an issue because it wouldn't be able to reach the instance. The other thing is that it could be that the app is not running, but it clearly is because it's pinging and we're getting a health check internally by the service. So it has to be something to do with this. It has to. So let's make sure that this is the security group rule ID, but that isn't necessarily the cluster here. So this is CRUDR cluster ALB. So it is showing that the ALB has access. Let's actually make sure that the ALB is attached to the load balancer. And that sounds really silly, but it's totally possible that that could be missing because it clearly is associated, so there shouldn't be an issue there. So we'll go to our load balancer and we'll take a look here and we will go to security and we'll click through to this one here. We'll check the inbound and outbound rules. So here's our inbound. All traffic for IPv4, so that is correct. Inbound, this is fine. There's no issue there. And this is the security group ID. We'll just copy it, just make sure that it is the correct one. We'll go over to the one that is created for our, which one is the correct one? I don't know, I can't tell. I think maybe we should clean up some of these older ones because we do have a bit of a mess here. I can't tell which is the new one. It might be this one here. So we will go back over to ECS, I suppose. ECS. Now what's interesting is like this CloudFormation stack is not failing. It's just going to spin forever until it succeeds. So I don't think this will ever, like it'll take a long time for it to time out. So this is where we would just go ahead and investigate and try to figure out what's wrong normally. We now have 4 failures. That's totally fine. I want to go into networking here, into the security group here. And yeah, so it is that one. I mean, I don't know, but I could just say like all traffic. We could add another one here and say, we just allow all traffic, all test. And maybe that would rule that out for us, all TCP. Save this rule. And we'll see if that makes any kind of difference. Now, we shouldn't have to do that, but we'll see if it does do anything there. But yeah, I guess the advantage of doing in CloudFormation is that you know exactly what's configured, whereas the API is generating out one and it might be configuring something else, but still it's not that much of a good reason. Again, I kind of prefer the bash workflow for that part, but we'll go here and I guess wait for the next failure, I suppose. So we'll just wait here, and if we have another failure, then we'll have to play around a bit, okay? I'll see you back in a bit. All right, so it still seems to be failing, even though we've opened up the ports. Another thing that it could be might be something with ECS Service Connect, because, I mean, that is what is probably being used to do routing, right? Well, anyway, I'm not 100% sure what the issue is, but I did observe a couple things, which is, if you notice the task definition, it says 25. So, well, I guess we are still using the same one, but I also kind of wonder if every time it fails, if it's deregistering every time. No, maybe that's fine. We have been deploying quite often, so maybe that is less of an issue, but I also kind of wonder if the task definition is deregistering a lot more than we think that it is, and so that number could be a lot lower. But it is a bit confusing why it's not working. Now we can see that we see back in Flask, it says Crutter. We have the Service Connect endpoint over here. It says 4567. So I'm not 100% sure the issue is. We opened the ports 100%. So that's not a problem. The other thing that we could try to do is we could, and it failed again, is we could try to give ECS or the load balancer a little bit more time. Because let's say it's failing fast, like it doesn't have enough time to actually check. We could do that as well. But we had a lower time before and we didn't have issues. So we go over to our load balancer here. I think it would be our target group actually. If we go into backend here and we go into attributes here, there's the deregistration delay. We're not worried about that, but it could be, if we go to the health check here, that we just were too aggressive with our numbers. So here it says timeout in 5 seconds. We'll take this back up to, so maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and 3 unhealthy, okay? So we'll change that, and we'll see if that makes any kind of difference. So yeah, we have 7 now. So we'll wait till we get to 8 or 9 and see if it still fails. So we'll be back here in a bit, okay? We'll just have to wait. I'm gonna just wait here and keep refreshing and see what happens. All right, so we have multiple more failures here, and so there's something frustrating about this because I'm not exactly sure what our issue is. So yeah, what could it be? And that's my door just opening and closing on its own, but anyway, so yeah, we have our health check from our service. That is working correctly. And so I'm just trying to think, what could it be? Because the service, the security group has to be set correctly for sure. Let's go back over here. Is the health check incorrect? /API health check, port 80. Looks fine to me. Slow start duration. Is there any other option here that we should be setting? Health requirements, that the resulting actions when minimum is not met. So unified configuration. I don't even remember looking at this before. This is kind of interesting. Let me just read this for a bit, okay? I think this is when you have multiple services deployed and it's talking about that. So that's not really what we want to do. So yeah, it is very unusual that this is happening. Health check failed, unhealthy. Port 4567. Unless we like the ports are messed up for some reason. Let's take a look and stare at our CloudFormation template. This is for our service. I want it for our service here. Container port. So this target group is set for 4567, which I mean is correct. We do set a port somewhere else in here. I think we actually hard-coded it. Did we not for this service? And I mean, we don't need to do that, but we can do container port here as well. So maybe we can rule this out by attempting to deploy the regular way. Because is it our CloudFormation template or is it something with the load balancer? I don't know. So what we can do as one kind of sanity check is we can go back to our CloudFormation template here. We'll tear it down. And why don't we just try to attempt to deploy it using our bash scripts? And by the way, I was thinking about it, and the reason why we probably do want it to be CloudFormation is that if we are going to add this code as GitOps, the idea is that we could then update our CloudFormation template, and then when a Git pull request is merged, then it would automatically deploy, and that would be something why you'd want it to be that way, using CloudFormation instead of using the CLI there. But anyway, what we'll do here is we'll go take a look at our configuration from before. So we have our backend here, because there are some values that we do need to update because they've changed. So like these subnets are different. The security group is possibly different here. I mean, that's the old one, so it probably still does exist, so we can use it. This is different. So let's just try to change some of this stuff and just use it as a thing to rule out. Okay. So I'm going to go over to EC2. And we'll go down to our target group here. And we'll go into backend here. I just want the ARN, so I'll copy the ARN. We'll go over here. I'm just going to copy paste this here. Then I want the subnets. So we can go to our CloudFormation stack, to our network stack here, and we'll just click that, and we can go over to our outputs. We have our public subnets. We'll go ahead and grab those. And we'll paste that in there. Okay, we need to change the security group. Now, the security group gets created with the service, but we probably still have that old one sitting around that we can use. So we'll make our way over to EC2 there, and security groups. And we can just go grab an old one. Let's give this a refresh here. Public facing security group here. There's a bunch. I don't know what these are for. We should just get rid of those. You probably don't have these. These are just old ones for something. And yeah, here's another one. Just gonna clear this up a bit. And so Credit ALBSG. So there's this one for service. Check the inbound rules. And front end, back end. Now this is interesting because this one does 4567 3000, but this is an older one, and at that time, it's actually kind of interesting that it says those ports, because in the other one I think we were saying that to port 80, right? Anyway, I'm going to just change this to be from anywhere. Okay, whatever. We'll go all TCP from anywhere for now, IPv4, save the rules. And so we'll go ahead and grab this. We'll paste it in here as such. Oh, it's the same one, great. And so I think that we replaced everything that was necessary. And so what we can do is go ahead and deploy this. So this was bin backend deploy. Here it says backend flash 21, which is quite older. It should be using something newer, right? Cluster not found. Oh, the cluster name is up here. So let's go look at what the cluster is called. We go into our stacks here, cluster, output. Cluster name is actually this. So we'll go ahead and paste that in as such. And we'll hit up. Now, why it's doing backend flash 21 is kind of bizarre to me. Here it says cluster not found. What are you talking about? The cluster is there, is it not? That's the name. It's right there. Hit up again. Okay, am I like crazy here? Maybe it's not specified here. Maybe it's specified in the actual command. So if we go into the bin here, into the back end, and we say deploy. Right here. Okay. So we'll paste that in again. Sorry. These should be the same because we kept them the same. And we'll try this again. Service not active exception. Service was not active. That's right, because we are deploying it for the first time. Maybe because we have to do create service here. Sorry. Okay. Okay, we'll go to ECS, create service. I don't remember because we have this update service, and maybe because we initially deployed it and then we changed it a bit, it doesn't need some of those things there. We really should have made these separate, like create and deploy, but anyway, ambiguous options, service could not match service name, service registries. I guess it's service name here, sorry. Try that. And this is true, this is not here right now. Okay, I'm gonna just make a new one here called create. Oops. Create service. Because they're very similar, obviously, but they don't do the exact same thing. I suppose what we could have done is had conditionals, whether it was created or not. I'll go here. And we'll go back to the old one, because I just want to keep my code the way it was there a moment ago. And so this one, it would be create service, and that would be service name, and we take out the forced deployment, like that. And I'll just do chmod on that, u plus x. Bin backend, create service. The desired count is missing. Okay. Desired count? What do you mean it's missing? It's right here. Did we not pass along the configuration here? Let's go back to the deploy one. Cluster, update service. Like, what is going on here? Why is this so messed up? I could have swore it was working a lot better before. We'll go to our deploy here. Isn't it supposed to pass JSON along here? That's what I'm confused about, because I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have the JSON specified, and I don't see it specified here. Huh. All right. How about we just launch a service manually? How about that? Okay. I mean, the other thing that we could do is we could go back to our cluster here, and so we could just change that security group to be 4567, but we already opened all ports, so there's no reason that it shouldn't work. Just give me a second. I'm just going to sit back here and think about it, okay? All right, so what I think it is, because I remember us setting this before, was the health check grace period seconds. And maybe we carefully read this. This is where I misinterpreted it earlier. So the period in seconds that the ECS service scheduler ignores unhealthy Elastic Load Balancer target health checks after a task has first started. This is only used when your service is configured to use the load balancer. If your service has a load balancer defined and you don't specify the health check grace period, the default value is 0. So if you have a service that has a load balancer defined, if you do not use a load balancer, we recommend that you use the start period in the task definition health check. If your service tasks take a while to start and respond to ELB health checks, you can specify health check grace period up to this. During that time, the ECS scheduler ignores health check status. This grace period can prevent the service scheduler from marking tasks unhealthy and stopping them before they have time to come up. Now, I mean, it says here that the default's 0, and I don't remember us ever setting this before. So if we go into our old JSON files, they should be in there, right? Like if it was set. So if we go into here, into our backend, we never set it. So it's my assumption that, you know, that is set to be whatever. Now I do have CloudFormation templates on GitHub I could take a look at from before. And I really hate how GitHub search works. It's always hard to find my own repos. Like this doesn't even search across all of them. So we'll go here. I think this is under teacher seat. And I'm going to go to my repos and we'll say Fargate service. And I'm just wondering if I set this value and what did I set it to? So if I go into this template here and I look at the service. So it shows me that I don't even set that. Right? So, and I believe it's under the service that's there. So I don't even set that. So I have a hard time believing that that option is our problem, this health check grace period. But it is failing sooner than we were expecting it to, so I don't know. I guess what I could do is set this to 100 seconds and see if that does anything. Again, I don't think that's our problem, but I'll go ahead and try anyway. It's just really weird that it's failing. So there's something that we're missing from a network perspective or security perspective that is causing the issue. So we will delete this, and when that is deleted, we will deploy again, okay? Just so you know, this thing really doesn't want to delete, but I'm still waiting for it to delete, okay? Also, if it's not deleting there, maybe what we could do is just stop the service, and that might fix the problem. Or we might end up in some kind of weird state with our application. I don't know, but let's just give it a go. But yeah, this is where I get frustrated because we know all the configurations that we've done before, but now it's not working. It's going to be something very simple or obvious. Is because it's draining, or did it actually delete now? Oh, deleted, of course. I start investigating, it gets off its butt and does something. We'll go ahead and we'll deploy the service again. I'm going to hope that this decides to work. We'll go over to CloudFormation. I promise you the DynamoDB and the RDS stuff is going to be a lot easier. But yeah, this stuff right now is quite the headache. We'll go over to our change sets. I'm going to execute the change set. I'll be back here in a bit. All right, so I figured out what the issue was. So the problem was when we were, this is the cluster, right? Oh, tell me this is the health check and the right thing. Let me go back over here. I solved it, right? Right? Because this was set to port override to port 80, which, by the way, is the default port. But now I'm not confident if it worked. Did it work? Is it healthy? Please tell me it's healthy. No. No. It's still broken. Sorry. I thought I made a change that worked there, but I was looking at the wrong one. Let me try a bit further, okay?